Hello everyone, my name is Beckett and welcome back to the channel. And today in Division 2, we're going to be breaking down another build video. And I don't know about you guys, but ever since I got the Scorpio, I have been trying to push it into every build I can. And today we're going to be bringing you a legendary healer hybrid build. With the Scorpio in mind and integrated in this build, it's going to be quite a bit of fun. Not only are we going to be putting out more than enough healing for any legendary mission, we're also going to be putting out quite a bit of damage to support our team and also buff our team with the future initiative. But before we get started, if you enjoy the content, hit that subscribe, and if you like the video, smash that like button. Now before we hop into the build, let's go over the playstyle. Yes, you're going to be a healer, but I would say 100% of your healing is going to be passively healing. You'll throw it on a skill, and then the skill is going to do the rest of the work. We are going to have to manage certain buffs, want to make sure we keep them up, as well as just making sure we are putting that damage out and taking out those priority targets with our Scorpio. Although this build is very straightforward, there will be times where you're just going to have to switch up a certain skill for a different situation, especially in legendary missions. Not every skill is going to work perfect. Let's say enemies are grouped up, you may want to use a different skill than when enemies are spread out, and the more and more you learn the legendary maps, the easier it is going to get. But especially for that person who is just trying to dip their feet into healing, this feels like a really good place, and I've actually been having a lot of fun, and you're just not like, oh, I just need to keep these people alive and shoot every 10 seconds to keep reformation up. It's actually quite engaging, and I've been having quite a bit of fun. So let's hop into this build. First off, let's hop into specializations. Now, as you can see, I have not bothered to level my sharpshooting or my survivalist. I was just never into those type of playstyles, but we are going to be using survivalist, but you're going to have another choice, and we'll talk about that in a second. So really all we need to do is spec into triage specialist. It's going to give that 15% increased outgoing healing, as well as the med kit. So whenever we pop a med kit, it's going to be over time, but it's also going to heal anyone within 20 meters, and that is a pretty large area. If you remember Eclipse Protocol, before it was nerfed, it would spread so far it would hit enemies that haven't even spawned inside the room yet. Now, since healing is not going to be a big issue when we're using survivalists, most of our stats are going to be in skill haste to keep our hive going so we can get the maximum use out of it. Now, if we decide to go with demolition so we can use the artillery turret because it's going to have a little more synergy, there is a downside to that. Now, if everyone in your group is going to be running a full red build and you know that all the time, it's not going to be an issue and it's not going to affect your healing at all. But if anyone in your group is running more than one or two armor cores, you're going to have a little issues with your revive hive, and it might be a little more to manage. Now with survival, it's going to be a non-issue because every charge that goes out from our hive is going to heal at least 60% of someone's armor if they are running a full red build. Now, if you do decide to stick with demolition, there is that downside because each charge is only going to give about 50% of someone's armor if they are running a full red build or a full skill build and they have no armor cores. But if anyone in your group is using at least one armor core, it's going to take at least 3 charges to get them to full, and since we only have about 32 charges to work with, it's going to be a little more difficult and you are going to be running through these charges fairly quick. Now generally the safe bet is just to run with survivalist. That little bit of extra damage or that artillery turret is not really going to make a difference if your team is dead. Now as for our weapons, we are going to be using the Scorpio, and it's going to be used in 2 different ways. First off, we're going to be using it to take out priority targets or stun priority targets so our team can take care of them, whether it's someone rushing us, a bunch of chungas coming up, or a warhound going around and just driving us crazy. We just want to keep that pressure off our team so they can worry about DPS and we can worry about keeping them healthy. We will also be using the Scorpio to keep the talent on our backpack running at 100% of the time, and that is not only going to buff our healing, but is also going to buff our skill damage. A great synergy all in all, so we don't have to worry about healing and we can just keep pushing out that damage for our team. Now as for the secondary weapon, I decided to go with the Harmony. I wanted something that could buff my weapon damage as well as my skill damage so I can just put out that extra bit of damage for my team. You could choose any weapon with in sync or any weapon with perfectly in sync. I just love the harmony and I prefer to use that, and it's got some amazing range and it does hit pretty hard even without any weapon cores. Now as for our gear, we are going to be using the 4-piece feature initiative, and I wanted to build something that you didn't need to go into the raid with, so we won't be using the chest piece or the backpack. But if you do have the chest piece, I would switch that out and use the BTSU exotic gloves, and it will have great synergy with your hive. Now as for the future initiative set, we got some pretty nice bonuses: repair skills, skill haste, skill duration, and we get ground control. Increases you and your allies' total weapon and skill damage by 15% when at full armor. When you repair an ally, your allies within 5 meters of you are also repaired for 60% of that amount. So you're going to save a lot of healing if you guys are stacked together and working as a team. It doesn't really work out that well when you guys are spread. Not only are you wasting necessary hive charges, but that extra healing isn't going out and someone just might die. So if you see a straggler, one of your friends, say, get over here. I'm tired of healing you. Now as for stat attributes, we're just going to want to re-roll everything to skill haste. Mod needs to be skill haste. If we have an extra attribute we can re-roll, then we would want to put repair skills in that. Now since there's going to be so much healing coming out of our future initiative set, we're going to want that skill haste, so in case our hive does go down and we need to wait for it to recharge, we're not waiting 30 seconds. We can be back in the fight in 10 to 15 seconds. And if you need to keep your team up, you can just pop those med kits with the survival specialization and keep them topped off, or at least at a reasonable level until you can get your hive back out there. Now for a chest piece, we are going to be using the Alps Summit chest piece. It comes with that 20% repair skills, but we're really looking for this talent, kinetic momentum. Every time we're in combat or a skill is not on cooldown, which is going to be 90% of the time, we're going to get a stack, and it's going to increase our total skill damage by 1% per stack and our total skill repair by 2% per stack. That is pretty huge, and we're going to be putting out a lot of healing and a lot of damage. Now for a backpack, I went ahead and went with the strategic alignment. Now it comes with that 15% explosive damage, but I'm more looking at this talent. Perfect Shock and Awe. Applying a status effect to an enemy increases total skill damage and repair by 20%. The regular one only does 15%, and that extra 5% does come in handy. Although I didn't get the skill repair roll I was looking for, I do have the skill haste and the status effects. Now if you went with the demolition route, this backpack's going to have a little more synergy with that extra 15% explosive damage. It's going to add a lot more damage to your artillery hit. Now, if you don't have this backpack, don't stress out. You can always just go out to target loot and farm Hannah U. You'll get that 10% skill haste, or you can even go Wyvern if you are looking for a little more extra damage to your turret. Just make sure you have the talent Shock and Awe, and remember, just reroll skill haste, then skill repair. Now, as for our talents, we are always going to be running the Restorer Hive. Now, our secondary skill may change depending on what we are doing. I suggest running the turret, especially it's very easy if everything is spread out. Now, if you have a lot of clump targets and you know there's going to be a lot of clump targets, you may just want to switch over to demolition just so you can take everything out with artillery and just really slow everything for your team down so they can take out all the priority targets. There may be other situations where you need to pull out the chem launcher just for a little bit of extra healing, or certain legendary bosses where you need to pull out the burster firefly, I believe what it is, to destroy the weak points. If you've done plenty of legendary missions, you'll know what I'm talking about, but if you are new to the legendary scene, you'll just learn as you go, and it'll get easier and easier, and you'll know what skill to use for what situation. Now, as for your skill mods, when it comes to the Restorer Hive, you are just looking for anything that is going to give you skill haste and pure healing output. Now, when you're using a turret, artillery turret, or whatever else, you're going to look for skill haste and anything that's going to give you pure damage output, and you should be good to go. Now, although this is a great build to bring into legendary missions as a healer support build, I would not suggest taking this into the raid. You're just not going to put out the same output, and really hybrid builds have no place in there. If you were, I would switch out the backpack for either a Murakami or another Alps so you can get that 20% skill duration and switch out the talent for safeguard so you can get that extra healing when you are at 100% health. Now for skills, I would just replace the turret and put in a chem launcher so you can just pump out those heals and you will be good to go in the raid. Otherwise, it's a really great build, and I probably wouldn't take it into heroic because healing is kind of a waste, but if you want to, you can take it there as well and you'll still be putting out a comparable amount of damage. Just remember that you may have to change certain skills on the fly and get ready for that. You'll learn as you go for each situation. Now I hope you guys enjoyed this build video, and if you're looking for others, you can go ahead and check out my channel. I do tutorials, Division 2 news, anything for old players to new players and everything in between. And thanks again for watching.